this episode of Down to Earth, a drowning planet. As rising sea levels submerge the coast of Nigeria, the nation responds with floating slums and artificial islands on a world-class scale.
Without this project, all what we have in this vicinity now would have been submerged underwater.
On track for a 1 metre rise by the end of the century, this phenomenon and its effects are accelerating.
The decision to stay was a bad one, and you need to get out.
But what if we take advantage of the threat? In the Netherlands, living on water has been a matter of survival for centuries.
If there's a flood, then the whole city, all the houses go up and down. So safe, flexible and space.
Down to earth in Lagos, Nigeria. This low-lying state has large swathes of land below sea level, making it particularly vulnerable to ocean surges and rising waters. This beach used to extend several hundred metres from here. Today, these coastal residents are among the first real victims of climate change. This street vendor normally sells cold drinks on Lagos's Alpha Beach. Instead, today he's building a new shed from scratch for the third time in just a few years.
Before I finish it will take me up to 2 months.
The Atlantic Ocean swallowed his first shed and soon after his second, during one of the many storm surges that increasingly batter this coast.
This is the bamboo, the mat of the former shed I have. When water wanted to carry the former shed, I used force to get this one. But the rest has gone by the water. Nobody can predict this water. It can come out at any time and destroy everything. But I have no option. That's why I'm doing it. If I have another option, I will leave this one and do another work. But so far, this is what I have now, and I cannot steal in order to feed my children or my family.
Many others, however, have fled. This health centre is abandoned. Ocean experts use this site as a case study of what happens when things go wrong.
If you look all along, you see there is devastation of the structures along the coastline. The buildings are wet, you see. So the last high tide, you can see the last high tide, you see, they are soaked. That means the water gets here. People cannot live here anymore. The building is gone.
With water levels rising, the effects of the storm are more severe, made worse by human construction too close to the shore, which renders the sand more fragile.
Yes, we met them. Under normal condition, the rate of erosion in this place, it shouldn't be more than 20 to 25 meters annually. But a storm surge of maybe when the wave height is over 2 meters comes, it could take almost 20 meters in a day.
Population 21 million. Lagos is the largest city in Africa and among the fastest growing in the world. As the commercial hub for Nigeria's vast natural resources, its economy is thriving. But the city is perpetually on the brink of flooding, and it's prompted an extraordinary response. What we're looking at here is an 8-kilometre-long sea defence barrier known as the Great Wall of Lagos. It'll be completed using 100,000 concrete blocks to fend off the encroaching Atlantic Ocean, making this artificial island one of the safest areas along the state's entire coastline. A city born from the sea. Since 2008, Chinese vessels have been dredging sand from the ocean and dumping it here, creating 8,000 square metres of solid ground each day. 6 years ago, Victoria Island's coastline looked like this. Today, the extra 5 million square metres of land is known as Eko Atlantic. a project hailed by the Clinton Foundation as an ingenious feat of engineering.
This is something, I'm telling you, there will be countless numbers of people coming here to study.
Would you say this is Lagos's answer to climate change?
This is Lagos' part answer to climate change, because prior to this, we had major erosion in Victoria Island. The island was almost all gone until all this was put in place. The area we are now, where we're walking through, used to be between 8 to 12 meters deep Atlantic Ocean water.
And so you filled that with sand?
And all that has been reclaimed with sand. And with that sand and the reclamation work that we've done, the city is growing, and it's a city that you are constructing on top of water. Eventually, everything you see there is going to become land. Let's move out of the way. It's a construction site, so we have to be careful.
Construction of the first building, an opulent residential tower, began earlier this year. Apartments sell for $1 million. The average Nigerian earns $120 per month. This, the most luxurious real estate on the coastline, will protect only the wealthiest from climate change.
Everywhere in the world that you go to, in the developed country, as they're described, you'll have areas where not everybody can afford to live. You know, the upper end of the property market, as it were. And this is what this is. And that's the reality of it, you know. As I keep going.
Eventually, 400,000 people will either live on or commute to the island each day. But the project won't cost the government a cent, with the multi-billion-dollar price tag footed by Lebanese-Nigerian developers.
I'll describe what you're looking at like what you see anywhere in the world, in the French Riviera, in Monaco, in all south of France, Dubai, you name it. I think it will be better than Hong Kong of Africa. You know, they said you have 7 wonders of the world. If there's going to be an 8th, this will be the 8th wonders of the world, as far as I'm concerned, because I know what is coming there.
A mere 10 kilometres away, another reality entirely. This is Makoko, Nigeria's floating slum, perched on the Lagos Lagoon. What once started as a small fishing village in the 1800s has since ballooned to 200,000 people. No one here fears the water. Anyeta, can you tell me a bit about how this community lives on the water?
Basically, it's pretty simple, and I think it's really pretty amazing the way they build their houses. The houses are built on stilts, and they're built high enough, way above the water, in anticipation of the rise and the fall in the water level. Everything that they need is found within the community. You find boutiques on water, you find restaurants on water, and in the houses as well. You find hair salons, you find laundries, you find mechanics. That's a grinding mill.
Do you think they live as well here on water as they would on land?
They're quite happy living like this. So to say that they'd be better off living on land, I don't know. Would we be better off living on water? People that live on land, the question should be asked if they'd be better off living on water.
55-year-old Olahunma Hadonu has always lived in Makoko and always worked in the same job.
We've always worked as fishermen. And we use nets to catch our fish. So follow me. I'll take you to my place.
This is his home, a roof for his wife and 8 children. Its floor often sees water come and go.
When the water level gets too high, we raise the floor of the home and put the furniture higher. I don't want to live on the land because there is no work for me there. I'm a fisherman, so I need to live on water.
And so this community finds itself permanently vulnerable to the highs and lows of the lagoon. There is, however, one exception.
That's the floating school. It was a project undertaken by an architect in 2012 called Kunle Adeyemi. He basically wanted to show that structures on the water can be adaptable to the rise and the fall in the water level. What is amazing about this structure is the fact that it actually floats on water as opposed to all the other structures in Makoko that exist on stilts.
Kept afloat with 256 plastic barrels filled with air and an A-frame which balances the 3 stories.
This room is a classroom.
This school, while not running yet, is designed for 100 students. But the structure is as much a model of what could be replicated across Makoko.
A building like this can serve as a home, it can serve as a health facility, it can serve as a church. It can pretty much be adapted to suit whatever purpose an individual has for it. So I think that a building technology such as this would be a fantastic way to ensure that the community exists for a very long time.
For now, Nigeria's outlook is grim. If the sea level rise continues at the current rate, 3 million people will be displaced by the end of the century. Globally, the potential price tag is mounting. At the top of the list, Guangzhou in China, where costs could soar to nearly 10 billion euros per year between now and 2050. In Mumbai, India, close to 5 billion euros annually, with a 50-centimetre rise making much of the city uninhabitable. And New York, ravaged by Hurricane Sandy in 2012, could face 1.5 billion euros per year in damages. Today's coastal cities are desperately seeking solutions to keep the water at bay.
There's no better place than the Netherlands for a lesson on how to manage water levels. For centuries, the kingdom has been battling with its low-lying topography. Here in Amsterdam, 2/3 of the city is below sea level, but its residents are treating it as more of an asset rather than a threat.
The Netherlands has long reclaimed land from the sea, but only recently did it start building entire communities on water, where each individual house is floating.
This is really Dutch, eh? Having all the bicycles just in front of the houses. A water street, huh?
This water street in the neighbourhood of Ijsberg is home to some of Koen Altage's designs, an urban architect who's obsessed with building on water.
The only reason to build on water is because you find space in the city on water and not on land. It's flexible, so if anything changes on water, we can reshape it. And it's safe, because if there's a flood, then the whole city, all the houses go up and down. So safe, flexible and space.
Here, for 200,000 euros, people buy the plot of ground below the water with the right to build on top.
If you think of that, then all the cities in the world, they have that much water. And if they can sell the water to developers, yeah, that will be a complete new industry. That's what's happening.
Gerard and Susan will soon be Ijsberg's newest residents.
My wife is a bit skeptical yet, still, but that was my idea, yeah.
Gerard, himself an architect, designed the house, an original place to call home, still in the heart of the city.
If you want to have an independent house, freestanding house in Amsterdam, it will cost you at least 20–30% more.
Downstairs, the master bedroom sits partially underwater.
So the water comes up to here, so it's about 1.5 meters underwater. And what is nice in summer is that when the swans are swimming and passing by, you only see the heads passing by. So it's really very nice, very nice.
The world's first firm dedicated 100% to floating architecture is headed by Koen Altage. And here houses are just the beginning. Next step, floating stadiums, harbours, islands, and eventually entire cities.
But we go to floating foundations. Foundations of 20 by 50 meters, which are exists of concrete structure, and we have foam in the middle. So, and then we put a concrete layer on top of it, and now you can make all kinds of houses. You can take big trees on top of it, roads. So you get a big island, and these islands together can make a complete city.
5 projects have been commissioned in the Maldives, including a private island.
Underneath here you can just swim. There's just, yeah, it's scarless islands. If you put this on the location and you take it away after 100 years, there's no scar. Of course, this is for the rich, and now we use the same technology for the people in slums.
They're known as city apps. These floating containers have multiple functions, run by solar panels installed on top.
This one is for Manila in the Philippines. As you know, there's been a lot of floods in the Philippines. And what we do here, oh, here's the first one. So this is just an internet school. There are half of the slums worldwide are one way or another connected to the water. It can be canals, it can be rivers, it can be seas. So if there's a little bit of water and a little bit of threat, then those are locations where we want to bring our floating city apps.
These mobile spaces can be used for food, shelter or sanitation, particularly in an emergency. But with 71% of the planet covered in water, colonising the ocean could be a solution for the long term.